Everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross. I'm so blessed and honored to be live here in Omaha, Nebraska with my good friend, Michelle Moore, CEO at NEI Global. How are you, Michelle?
I'm doing great, Ben, and we are so excited to have you and your team here at NEI's headquarters.
It's always a pleasure to be here in Omaha. I say that all the time. I'm sorry, it's super corny and cheesy, but I read somewhere that I could say that, and I abuse the privilege.
We hear it a lot.
Yeah.
So
Well,
not
because y'all are so
surprising.
hospitable here.
We love to have guests.
Yeah, you just got rid of 300,000 of your closest friends at the College World Series.
Yes, that we did, and it was a great series. Did you catch much of it?
I will. So I was rooting for Arkansas. So my family are Hogs fans. And actually, I have my cousin and aunt who are from Louisiana, so they're LSU fans as well. So they were very happy
I bet they were.
and slightly obnoxious. Let's be honest. Okay. Yeah. But
Our town does become a little purple and gold through much of the College World Series.
yeah, it's always a good time. Hey, get in the comments, everybody. I want to hear from you. Hit that like button. Get in the comments here. We are talking to Michelle. Michelle, it is the first time I've spoken to you on this podcast. You've been a great guest, but it's the first time I think I've had you on since you've officially been in your new capacity as the CEO and president of NEI Global. How does it feel?
It feels great, but in some respects, there isn't much of a change. Randy Wilson, who was our CEO and president for 40 years, when she retired, we had a long runway with our succession planning because that's very important to us, knowing who's going to be next taking in all of our key positions. So with that, we had almost a year that we were planning towards that, working with letting our employees know, even letting our customers and our supplier partners know over many months. So it was a gradual transition. We still miss Randy.
Yeah,
and
love Randy.
Wishing us well every day.
Shout out to Randy. Love you.
Exactly. But she's enjoying great time with her grandchildren and having some time just being at home and not having to be traveling and on the road.
Yeah, I have to really congratulate you and Randy and succession planning. You know, succession is a inevitable part of a growing long-term business, especially a business as mature as NEI Global's, right? And how you handle that really determines the way the next generation is going to be run. And I get to see it all the time with businesses that know how to do it right and don't. We see it with our supplier partners as well. We see it at the association level.
Absolutely.
I tell IAM all the time that I love the way that they did it. Everyone knew what was coming a couple years in advance, and you could prepare, and it was just kind of a natural turn of events. So what are your thoughts or advice maybe you would give to companies as they're thinking about succession planning?
I think it's really important that you start early and that you don't rely on just a single candidate. All of our key positions, while may not be something that you're discussing on a daily basis, your leadership team, you know who your next two backups are because anything can happen. Someone wins that lottery and has the opportunity to retire even earlier than they expected, or something comes up. So we really look to see who are that next level and look at it as somewhat of an ongoing process. We definitely look at it every year, but sometimes we're looking at it more frequently, just as the business is evolving and changing in many different areas, and use a couple tools that we've worked through, one of them being the 9-box, to really see who's on deck with the potential, the development that's needed, and the different opportunities.
Tell me about this 9-box. I've never heard about this. I'm not asking you to do a full training right now for us, but I'm really curious about this.
So with the 9-box, what we really look at is we use it as an opportunity to plot those that have the skills to move into the next level position, those who are comfortable in their position, or those that need additional training within the position that they're at. And when you plot those, you really have the opportunity to see those employees that are there and are ready, those employees that still have the aptitude but maybe need some future developing, so you can plan and focus on that training and development that's needed, and really is a good management exercise to make sure that you're not missing anyone that should be ready for the next step, and or you can plan that training.
Love that. Get in the comments here what your thoughts are on succession planning. If you've got thoughts on the College World Series, I'm seeing some comments around that. get in here. Uh, I had the good fortune of being mentored, well, been mentored by a lot of people in my career. But when I was in my mid 20s, I had a management opportunity, and they thought that I could tell they thought I was pretty smart, but I was pretty green in a lot of areas, right? And I needed a lot of help. And so they put me through this mentorship where, every day I would go spend half an hour with a senior leader, and the CHRO, the CIO, the CMO. And the CHRO, she had worked at NASA, and she taught me a very simple, it sounds very similar to what you talked about, where it's a skill column and a will column. And some
Yeah.
employees have the skill and they have the will. Some have the skill, they don't have the will. Some don't have the skill and they have the will, and some have neither. And there's a strategy for each of those buckets, right?
Absolutely. Very similar type process. And however you look at it, just making sure that you're looking at all the traits and looking at all the traits that you can develop.
Yeah. Hit that like button, get in the comments here. We got some shout outs here. Jill, Veith, welcome Ben and Daisy. What's up, Jill?
Hi, Jill.
Amy Kennedy, always a pleasure to have Ben visit us at NEI. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy.
Appreciate that. We had a ice cream truck outside today.
That we did. And of course, Nebraska weather. We had the sun, we've had the rain, and now we probably have even more humidity.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen such hard rain. The rain was going at a 45-degree angle. We're out there with like umbrellas eating ice cream. It was like, y'all are resilient, though. I got to give it to you, NEI
we
family.
have a great NEI team.
Yeah, really. Daisy Sinclair checking in. Love being in Omaha, visiting our friends. Daisy's first time in Omaha.
Daisy, I didn't realize it was your first time. Well, great.
What advice would you give to a first timer in Omaha? If we have the evening available tonight, where should we take Daisy, or what should we show her tomorrow? We have a little time.
Oh, if you're in Omaha and it's not raining, one of the greatest things is the Henry Dorley Zoo.
Okay.
It's one of the top tourist attractions and rates right up there with Disney. They have a great desert biodome where you can see deserts of the night, what the desert looks like, and during the day and at night underneath. And there's a great jungle and aquarium, all sorts of great things to see.
Love that.
And
Daisy, we're going to the zoo.
There's great food on every block.
Now you're talking. Something for you, something for me. There we go. I love it. That's awesome. Going to the zoo. I also hear you got a nice jewelry store in town too.
Absolutely. One of our favorite Borsheims, which is part of the Berkshire Hathaway family. So
I'd have to get something for the wife.
Absolutely. We can show you where the back room where they keep the really good stuff.
I think I'll stay in the front room. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll be at the buy one, get one free case, please. Thank you so much. Oh, goodness. Kim Lopez checking in. How about that no-hitter game from Arkansas? Woo Pig Suey. Yeah, Kim. Let's go, Arkansas. Yeah, they had a great game, but unfortunately that pitcher can't pitch every night, Jillian checking in. Look at the setup. So cool. Yeah, what an awesome studio. I got to ask you this. I get to go visit a lot of offices, and everyone these days is kind of doing something with social media. But y'all have really made an investment here with this studio. This is nicer than what I got.
Well, absolutely. We have an awesome marketing team. They were able to design exactly what they felt we needed and would help when we have guests like you, Ben, here, and make it an enjoyable experience for you.
Well, I don't want to leave. I'm looking at Zillow. I'm looking at houses right now. I'm like, what can I get something, small around?
We'd love to have you in Omaha.
Yeah,
but we can do some great rent rates.
There you go. You're already going to get me in some short-term, long-term, But why was it important as the leader here? Why did you think it was timely to make that kind of investment in your social media and your podcasting and things like that?
We really find that we spend a lot of time on it. We have the thought leadership to connect with our clients. We have the thought leadership, prospective clients, and just help things in the industry. And anything we do, we want to do it in a professional looking manner. And so part of that was the look and feel that we had the consistent view. And Zach Turbis goes on with the Relocation Leaders podcast, and it gives him a consistent location unless he's on site. And then everyone knows by the backdrop exactly where he's at.
Yeah. Shout out to Zach doing a great job with the Relocation Leaders podcast.
Absolutely.
I had the honor of appearing again this morning. I don't want to spoil it, but we got a really cool, a little preview, a little teaser here, as we say in the biz. But yeah, it's got a really cool one telling my personal story, and a special guest who came on with me,
That's very exciting. I have
Yes.
to watch for that.
I know. I was just, you might get a little sneak peek. I have a feeling. Valerie Dean says, love the 9-box concept. Yeah, Valerie, that was pretty cool. People are saying I love the ice cream today. Thank you.
Yes.
Shout out
Thank
to
you very
Daisy
much.
Sinclair on my team for making that happen.
Yes. Thanks, Daisy,
Yep.
and the Aversol team as well.
Yes. Shout out to
Also,
Hosea Polly and Universal for coming through and making ice cream happen. You need more ice cream. It's peak season, y'all.
absolutely.
Little sugar, a little love goes a long way, right? How do you keep, how do you keep morale high when everyone's working their tail off in peak season?
We do a lot of different things. Janelle Anderson, our chief experience officer, does a great job with our HR team, and they really work at planning out through the summer various little things. And I can't give it away, but there's fun surprises. And we've been having that the last couple of weeks where things have gone out on a Monday or a Tuesday, and there's a plan for the week. We've already done it, but we had a Jenga championship and had a Jenga master. And Zach Turbis, our relocation podcast leader, he was runner up.
Yep.
And Andrew Dyer, our global service partner director, he was our champion. So all of our employees that were on site had the opportunity to get involved. We did it over a few different days and a few different brackets.
Kind of like the College World Series. You made it like a week out thing.
So that different days, so those that are hybrid and in the office some days, but not others, we could make sure that everyone had that chance to participate.
I heard it got a little competitive.
It got very competitive. Unfortunately, I did not last long in the brackets, but I had to go out of town. So that's why I told everyone that
you tank. I got to catch a flight. There you go.
That was the last thing I did before going to the airport.
There you go. That's who you always want to draw in the first round, somebody with a flight.
Great job just planning out different things between lunches, ice cream truck, different activities for people to do, things that don't take them away from their desk long, but enough to give them the opportunity to make sure they're taking a break, having some community with their fellow coworkers, and most importantly, having a little fun in the midst of peak season.
I think that's so important. I think fun is so important. I think fun is so underrated, having fun at work.
Absolutely. And we're in a tough industry. There's a lot of times where our people are taking the brunt of things that maybe they couldn't control, maybe they couldn't do, having a lot of empathy for things that go maybe are just challenging in someone's family, even outside the relocation, that they're with that person that they're moving. And so being able to kind of take that break and have some fun with coworkers and know that we care and support them. That's really what our goal is a lot of times, in making sure that over the summertime and these times times when we have a lot going on, that we're giving kind of some fun relief and some opportunities for different ways to appreciate all of our employees.
Yeah, I think that's really great. Get in the comments if you got questions too for Michelle. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff here. We're going to be taking kind of the temperature of this peak season and this 2025. I think fun is important too, because if you don't like your job, you're not going to stay there, right? I mean, I heard somebody say one time the biggest indicator of retention is if you have a friend at work, if you have like a buddy that you look forward to going in and checking in with and talking about what you watched on TV last night or whatever, going to lunch with or something. And I think it's important to kind of create that community.
Absolutely. We see that as very relevant and very true. And especially sometimes you need that work buddy so that as you get off those calls, sometimes you need that opportunity to share either what's going on in the move, but also the opportunity to learn and to bond, because we have a lot of trainings and people learn a lot in training, but there's nothing like being able to learn from your coworker and your peer of how they do things and how that might work for you, and really help you out through those peaks and valleys throughout the moves of how things are going.
Yeah, that's really great. And I noticed and get in the comments, y'all. I see some folks checking in here. I'm going to give you all shout outs here, but you have a strong in-office culture here.
Absolutely. We work very hard on that. And that started day one, 40 years ago, with Kate Dodge and Randy Wilson, really recognizing that within the moving industry at that time, 40 years ago, it was more about the logistics. who was looking out for the family, making sure the kids acclimated into school, got into the right activities, got into what they needed. And with that, how do we care for our own employees? How do we really make sure that we are providing them the support to have not only that the work is getting done, but in a fun manner, but knowing that they're going through really tough times with those families that they're relocating. And how do we make sure that we give them the care and support to help, again, help them with the tools they need to succeed in their job, but then also enjoy their job so that we can have that outstanding tenure.
Yeah,
That we
love
have.
it. Love it. We got people checking in here. Get in the comments here. Want to give you a shout out. Let us know who you are, where you are. Shelby Weber checking in. Welcome, Daisy.
Hi, Shelby.
Love Shelby. Shelby's a great partner. The zoo is amazing. She says, looks like we're going to the zoo, Daisy. We're going to the zoo. Oh man, going to the zoo. Zachary Turvis studios on point. Yeah, it really is. That's always a pleasure. And he's getting real good at interviewing people too, by the way.
Zach does a great job.
Yeah, he's getting good at. I think there might have been a couple tears shed this last time. So
Just can't wait to see that
stay tuned
podcast.
for some grown men crying. Okay, on the next Relocation Leaders podcast. Lynn Gardner checking in. Good thing the ice cream treats were not here in the Carolinas. You would have had to eat it fast. Is it hot there, Lynn? It's pretty hot everywhere right now.
Yeah, Omaha, we're typically a little bit warmer. We're having a cool day in the mid 80s.
Yeah. Shelby says, go Andrew. Look at that. Mike Quigley, great culture. Thanks, Quigley. Mini Moves checking in. Hi, all at Mini Moves. We keep the energy up with Friday barbecues in the courtyard.
Oh.
Nothing like good food and great people to finish the week strong during peak season. I love that. Who's cooking at Mini Moves? Do you have a grill master, or does Johnny A get out there and flip burgers? What's the deal, huh? I think it's always fun when I see the leadership team serving others.
We do that on a lot of our Thanksgiving Day lunch. You've seen our break room now. We have a great long buffet that works really well for us to serve all of our team members, our Thanksgiving Day lunch, and a lot of other events that we're able to participate and greet all of our employees and do that. You mentioned culture. I just have to give a shout out to I mentioned Janelle, our Chief Experience Officer, and Carly Barth and our marketing team. They collaborated with probably many others that are missing names and had submitted an award nomination for NEI's culture. And so our Omaha Chamber of Commerce, we won an award in excellence related to culture this year. So we're very proud of what that stands for and represents, because we can't have culture unless it's all of our employees participating and really making it that culture. And so we have a new hire breakfast. So about 90 days after our employees start, we have breakfast with all the new hires that have been hired. And we really talk about things like the culture, what the NEI philosophy, own it philosophy means to us. That's right. And how has their onboarding gone? So we're looking for not only the constructive feedback, but also then we have a little bit of ask to help them understand with our culture. It's important that they're helping pay it forward to the next new hire and with their coworkers, and how we can work together to bring that culture together. So it's something that we take very seriously, and every day it is a choice by everyone to make sure that we are bringing forward the culture that we've been founded upon.
Love it. That's awesome. It's really great. Charles Beatty checking in. Agreed. You have to have fun at work. The Jenga master. Watch out, Charles. I don't know. How's your Jenga game? Now, was this full-size Jenga or was this tabletop Jenga?
Tabletop Jenga.
Okay.
We had multiple tables going rounds at different times. So the noise of some of the towers falling was a little bit nerve-wracking to some of the others that were concentrating on their moves. So it was a competitive environment.
I would have liked to get a piece of that. Maybe a GPA would get a little Jenga, a little supplier Jenga.
We'll have to think
tournament
about that.
Going on. Speaking of GPA, by the way, today's a big GPA deadline for you.
Absolutely. Our marketing and our global service partner team launched the website, and sponsorships and registrations are live now. So for all of our supplier partners out there, be sure and register. We can't wait to see you in October.
Now, is it going to be at the hotel? Was that last year? I enjoyed that hotel. Where's
Goodness,
it gonna be
Ben,
at?
you're putting me on the spot.
Where
No,
where are we
it's
going this year?
downtown.
Downtown?
It's downtown.
Embassy? Oh, is it the one we did 2 years ago? Right down by the market?
Yes.
Oh man, I love that location. We were down there last night. We were at Gather last night eating dinner, and we took a walk, and we are like, and we were over at the Havana Garage, and we were like looking at that. And we are like, wow, that's the one from 2 years ago. Like, that's a great location.
Absolutely. Then we'll be back.
That's a really good location. You guys definitely don't want to miss that. I'm excited.
Great.
I was excited. I was gonna come anyway, but I'm like really
Super. Now
excited.
you're really excited.
Like, yeah, like really excited. Yeah, downtown Omaha and that market district is really cool.
Absolutely.
And they got a massive 5-story historic Fidelity van and storage building, by the way. As a moving nerd like I am, anytime I see a massive building that says moving and storage on the side of it, yeah, and they converted it into all these really cool chic condos and stuff.
Okay, well, maybe tomorrow with the zoo or in lieu of the zoo, you can tour around some of the other parts of downtown, because if you go the other direction, you'll see one of the original Ford plant murals on one of the buildings.
Okay.
So,
all right, maybe we'll do a downtown walking. I think Michelle has I don't know. I think you think I walk more than I do, Michelle. I'll be honest with you. I think you have a distorted view of how much I walk. Let's see here. Janet Edgar says, I love this. People helping people. Application to both external and internal partners. Everyone's pitching in at the grill at Mini Moves. Shelby says Embassy Suites. Yep, for sure. And you have awards that go along with that GPA summit as well.
oh, absolutely. Shelby, sorry, I didn't think to do that. Our supplier partners absolutely can submit nominations for many different categories for sustainability, for Own It, where they think they have owned it throughout the process with NEI, as well as our employees submit for things that they have seen with our service partners. Opportunities for them. So it can come from both the self-nomination or an NEI employee nomination for the awards program. So service partners out there, please submit your nominations. We want to include you. There's tough competition, but I know you all do great things every day.
Yeah, so get ahead of it there, y'all. Patrick Marble checking in. Culture has become one of the top criteria strong employment candidates are looking for. Oh, I so agree with that, Patrick. You're so right. I want to switch gears real quick. We talked about, it being, relocation being a tough time in people's lives, but it's also a tough time in relocation right now. And I was kind of curious, as a leader in this industry, what are you seeing?
Ben, we're seeing a little bit of everything. Overall, I think the volume is down for most of our clients. We have a few clients that are going through things that they still are moving people. They may be doing some group moves, maybe slightly smaller than what they've done in the past, still needing to get talent to where they need to get to it. We are working with a number of clients who are looking at updating policies, using the opportunity to get ahead of what might be coming in the future. We all that have been in the industry for a while have experienced that time when the moves get kind of quiet, that at some point they ramp back up.
That's right.
And
pent-up demand.
Exactly.
I learned that word a few years ago.
Absolutely. So now we're on one of those. In areas of international, there seems to be a lot of pause with some of the uncertainties going on. We're helping clients plan ahead, maybe for a plan A, a plan B, depending upon when things will change and happen, so that they're being very future focused and what's next. So based upon what changes in their business and when they're ready to go, we'll have everything in place and no one will miss a beat when they're ready to pick back up on their moves. But we are seeing it slower than typical for right now, especially in the global markets. Domestic, it's just hard right now because there's not many houses for sale. And if people have a low interest rate, it's hard to give that up. But it's also hard if you're a home buyer, hard to pay that higher interest rate, higher home sale price on a much smaller set of options for what's out there in inventory.
Yeah, I am seeing more, and this is anecdotal. I haven't looked at studies here. I am seeing more homes in my neighborhood with home for sale out in the yard, right? So it seems like some of these houses are coming on the market, although I see new starts are down, very low right now. So
Absolutely.
that's, worries you a little bit around inventory. But I do feel like it's still about that interest rate.
Absolutely. And so we are seeing some of the houses are on the market a little bit longer, but you need that perfect house and the perfect buyer to come together. And then the homes are still moving quickly. So if you haven't hit it yet on price or a buyer that's motivated with the interest rate, you're not there yet. So we are seeing some houses are sitting, if they're not in a location priced right, or maybe have, depending upon the level of reconditioning that might be needed.
Yeah, that reconditioning factor, I mean, that's key. I know
Absolutely.
I just bought my second home, ever in Texas now. And, you always weigh the lower cost versus the high cost of renovations. And can we do it? How much is it going to cost? Do I want to do it? How am I going to finance that? It's kind of straightforward how to finance a house, but how to finance, renovations is a little bit more perplexing sometimes.
Absolutely. And that can, when you're in a relocation situation, oftentimes people are looking for the home that is move in ready, that they're not going to need to do that work, because they also are looking for towards what will happen if they're relocated again. So we've actually seen a lot of those home buyers maybe hang on to their home in the original location, maybe rent it out and then rent, but then they have the unexpected consequences of being a landlord,
Yeah.
getting that call at 2 a.m. or paying the fees to have someone else manage that for you. So we are starting to see individuals that may have moved in the prior year that thought they would hold on, may be ready now to sell that home and really buy in the new location, because even though the maybe perceive those higher costs from the interest rates and they're not going to be able to afford as much, there still might be a positive trade-off for their family in not having to manage that rental in a different location from where they're at, or having the family more settled in what they're viewing as a more permanent home versus had they been in that rental. So there's a lot going on with that are changing the dynamics of moves as well.
So you're saying, am I understanding right that you're saying maybe transferees that have home sale as part of their benefits package, but maybe they're electing not to sell their home and they're just going to keep it?
Absolutely. And
So then does that mean the RMC then has an opportunity to what, maybe step in as a offer property management maybe? I mean, that seems like a different model, huh?
typically, but being the client's not paying for the property management, and usually they start out not wanting property management. We're typically not involved in that
Mhm,
aspect of the process other than potentially making referrals. We
mhm.
have a lot of great agents out there. So a shout out to all the agents that do property management. It's not an easy job, but we'll be able to make some referrals. And
Yeah.
usually the employee is on their own for those costs.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be interesting though. I'm just thinking because I'm always thinking of how do we evolve our business models, to the changing consumer behaviors out there. And
Absolutely.
it's like if we were to offer property management, which sounds terrible, honestly, to administer that, right? But if we were to do it, I mean, it's not harder than moving household goods. But anyway, if we were to do it, we'd keep them in our ecosystem so that 3 years down the
Yeah.
line, when they're ready to sell the house, we get we get the referral there
Right.
too, maybe. I don't know.
And, we do have some programs that we stay in touch with all those that
Mhm.
have rented for a
Yeah.
period after even maybe their benefits expire, because we can still help them and support them with vetted agents, the opportunities to make those referrals and the opportunity to kind of help them through the process, because it is a very large purchase. And sometimes people haven't moved that many times in their life. You mentioned you're on your
Yeah, I'm
second buying
42 now, and I've
expense.
got my second house now.
So you probably don't feel like an expert. So
No.
having someone with you through that process, when we can help them, just being by their side to help guide and walk them through what to expect in the process by making those referrals, still provides some value to them.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I'm 42 and I'm probably have a combined 4 years of home ownership experience. And yeah, not an expert by any stretch. And I'm wondering, is that abnormal, or is it maybe indicative of, millennial generation that's just not as keen to be homeowners, or maybe not as able.
I see that as a trend when we really look at the first time home buyer, what it really takes to get into a home now. We're finding that individuals need to be in their positions longer to kind of work a little bit to have some of the salary increases that someone would have. They may not have that just when they start off their career, being able to, depending upon what city they are, jump right into a home because I've heard of statistics and I don't recall where I heard it, but in the US, there's over 25 cities now that your entry level home is over $1 million. And all those cities are no longer in California.
Right. We used to think, oh, that's a Bay Area problem. That's
Exactly.
Orange County or Los Angeles problem, or New
Absolutely. And
York
it's
City.
not that way anymore. So in many markets, we're seeing that housing affordability is a challenge, even in relocation. And where's that shift when you're moving from a low cost to a high cost puts even more pressure on those moves.
Does that change the way that relocation policies have to be structured, with the higher cost of housing? I mean, is this becoming a deal breaker for people?
For some transferees, it is a deal breaker just because what they're looking at and just it's hard to make that adjustment if they've lived in a low cost when they know anything is going to be challenged. And we've had that in the past. When people were moving maybe from the Midwest to New York City, we would see maybe some potential declines of those moves, just thinking that I'm not going to be able to afford to live in that area because the market had a stigma of being such a high cost. Now it seems like there's a lot of markets that are higher costs, but now there's also many more people moving from high costs to other high costs. So some of those low costs, they were finding ways to help people adapt as well as not through the programs, maybe through cost of living adjustments that might be offered to them. There may be salary differentials that are already put in place through their employer, reminding them of that. So what your budget is today is going to change because of what your salary will be in the local area. And really sometimes talking people down a little bit of
Yes.
how things will
Counseling.
adjust. Exactly, that counseling, how things will adjust. And there's things to look at and consider of what those changes might look like. And so we do a lot of cost of living type analysis. We do that not only for our clients to help them understand what those costs are for people moving when they to help them be ahead of the feedback, or if they're surprised by feedback that they get, we're able to substantiate that and help give some information based upon facts, whether it's tax rates, whether it's goods and services. Sometimes you have to bring together the whole picture. One component might be high, other components might not be as high.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I was working with a client recently who was recruiting a leader out of the Las Vegas area to come to the Orange County, California area, and it was a really nice job. It was very nice salary, very good bonus program, and the employee and and definitely the partner, and was definitely a part of the conversation, just didn't think that they could have the same quality of life. But a lot of it was perception, because and this is, shame on me, because I guess I didn't get ahead of it, but this is where a relocation company would have really been instrumental in that negotiation, because I reached out to a company in our space that specializes in that kind of data, and I pulled some actual data. And you're right, some things are more expensive, some things are less expensive, right? And it kind of washes out to, X% more, and you're getting, if it's a 10% net increase in cost, but you're getting a 20% net increase in wages, actually, you're doing okay. And so, of course, I had that too little too late. But if you're working with a relocation company, at each step of the process, and through the talent management process, I got to think that you're going to have better outcomes from the recruiting and retention standpoint.
Absolutely. And it starts when they're a candidate. So we have a number of different candidate programs that we offer to really support our clients and their candidates through that process, because that is one piece of it that sometimes people just need some outside perspective. And sometimes coming from a third party, it's a little bit easier and a little bit more palatable to share all those things, because that may not be a discussion you want to get into with your new potential employer through an interview process about, what are the costs of taxes? What are the costs of maybe different services that you would use that, it's just not something you want to start getting into with an employer.
Clients ever think to engage you guys earlier in the process when they're trying to kind of bring somebody over and to kind of talk them through and help them sell it?
Absolutely. And that's where our candidate programs come in. We are making sure we're helping them with the facts, whether it's through area orientations, through whether it's the analysis of a cost of living information and reviewing that with the individuals, but really making sure that they have a very holistic, factual approach to what the client is then selling them on. But we can really make sure that there's no deterrence to the areas, and making sure that if there was concerns about the schools, we can engage for school tours in advance to make sure that they have all the information so that they can match up a school to their child, so that when they're focused on that offer, they can be focused on what is the job and how is that going to entail, because we've covered the area and how things might work, how they'll live. They can see themselves there already in that community, having everything that they'll need, or how
Yeah.
they might be successful as a unit outside of their job.
They have to really be able to envision themselves living
Absolutely.
there. And that's what I hear so often. I mean, me and my wife have these conversations because we moved to 5 different states, and it's like, I can't see myself living there. Or when we go visit somewhere, it's like, I can see living here, you know?
Absolutely. And that's key. Sometimes we hear more resistance when people haven't even been to the location before, but just it might be what they've heard from others that have traveled there,
Yep.
or different things on the news, which we know sometimes that can give a distorted view versus what it might really be like once you're there. A lot of times when you travel for fun,
Yeah.
you're in areas that you may not live in. You might be right downtown, and you might be more of a suburban person for
Yep.
where you'll live. Or if you've had to travel for work or someplace else and you went to a plant, you might not be in the downtown
Yeah,
area.
you're in the industrial
And
side of town.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you want to live downtown. So being able to match up what their needs are and really kind of help show them the things that are important to them really can kind of go a long way in conquering some of those objections that they might have towards the move.
Get in the comments here. I want to hear what your thoughts are. How do we convince people to take these relocation packages? I think there's a real sales and marketing opportunity for us in our industry to convince people that they want to move. I have a lot of theories on why people don't move. And I think those have kind of crept in, and maybe we've not done a great job as an industry of, kind of stepping up and say, hey, this is why moving is actually pretty cool. And I think that we have to tell our story a little bit better sometimes.
Absolutely.
Really curious what y'all think about that. Hosea Botley checking in. Hello, Ben and Michelle. It's great to be on campus at NEI. What's up, Hosea? It's good to see you.
We're so excited that you came today, Hosea. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, awesome seeing you there. I see that all the time. So I grew up in New York, but I live in Texas now. So my wife, who's from New York City, that was a major culture shock for her, and she would have never thought that she would live in Texas, right? And all her family thinks has certain perceptions about Texas, and then they come to visit and they have a great time, and they're like, "Wow, this is awesome!
That's
You have a beautiful
awesome. So
home."
where do you take the
Where-
family when they come
I
visit
take
in
them to our
Texas?
pool in our backyard first, and they're like, "This is like a resort." I'm like, "Want another margarita?" And right off the bat, they don't even have to go anywhere to be having like a 5-star experience, right?
That's awesome.
And then when they're tired of that for 3 days, then we go to eat some great food, or we go to Fort Worth and we go to the stockyards, or we go to some of the incredible entertainment facilities and stuff. We go hear live music. Arts and culture, we do a little bit of it, but I like to have a good time, and we take them around, and we can go downtown Dallas and go see go to a theater or something like that, or a world-class museum, or we can go to these different trails and things like that, the Katy Trail and things like that. But I just think the arts and entertainment and food and all that stuff is what I like to do with people, and they have a great time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And while they live in New York City and a lot of those things are there, sometimes you don't never experience it in your own hometown. So it's always a great treat when you go someplace else.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially when it's half the cost.
Yeah.
You go out to dinner and it's, $60. And you're like, wow, we could do that every night. I'm like, yeah, we could. We could do that every night. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think that they enjoy the cost of living. But then at the end of the day, they say, nope, never would live anywhere but New York. It's New York or nowhere. People I think they get a tattoo when they're born in the hospital. They put it right on their butt or something, New York or nowhere. But that's just the way people believe.
There's always home. And
Yeah.
so it's a lot of times with the transferees, that's what we work with as well, encouraging them to try and experience the new area. And, there may be a time for retirement where they'll be back, or a job in the future will take them back. But there's always that good opportunity to try something new, and encouraging them to see all the positives of the new position and the new area.
Well, and me and my wife are guilty of it too, right? I mean, we moved to Texas right out of college because we didn't think we could make a life for ourselves in New York. We thought it was too expensive. We thought we'd never be able to raise a family. I mean, of course, families are raised there every day, right? But we didn't think we
Absolutely.
could. And now Dallas has gotten so expensive that when we look at Long Island and northern New Jersey and so we're like, well, it's about the same price actually. And you get a basement. So things change too, right?
Absolutely. And we see that evolution, and we are seeing a lot of that and some of that pricing. So sometimes where there's a lot of information out on the internet, and sometimes when transferees go out, they may get those headlines and some of those accumulators that maybe there's some paid information that's popping up that may be presenting things a little bit different than actual facts.
Sure.
And so that's where I think sometimes the value of an RMC comes in place. So the resources that we are using, we're making sure we're going directly into the right. There's a methodology for how the costs are collected.
Right.
They're going straight to the tax offices and pulling the tax information to give you those components. So it's not just necessarily internet headlines.
The price of
related
eggs,
to a
right?
city.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
one.
there's more than eggs.
Yeah,
And again,
sure.
you have to eat a lot of eggs to
Yeah.
start to make a dent in your paycheck. So kind of helping them walk back through some of those components to get down to what are the true differences between two different locations.
For sure, for sure. Get in the comments here, hit that like button, y'all. Allison Gurley is weighing in. She says, great points. Relocation can be scary, but also very exciting. I will tell you, relocating for work in my career was probably the most upwardly mobile thing I could do. So being geographically mobile also made me upwardly mobile. It meant that I wasn't restricted to the opportunities that were just in my geography, whether that was Albany, New York, where I went to college. And I looked around and I was like, okay, do I want this to be the extent of my job pool? No. And then I went to Plano, Texas, and that's a great market, but I hit that market in 06 and I didn't realize that I was like kind of in a recession. I was like, how come nobody wants to hire me? And all I could get was, pyramid schemes and cold calling, selling flashlights door to door and stuff. I was like, oh, can't be it either, right? And then I moved to Florida, and then I moved back to Texas, and then North Carolina, and then Michigan, and now I'm back in Texas. But because I was able to do that, because I was willing to be mobile and follow my career and the opportunities, it was tremendous. And I worry sometimes that people sell themselves short by not being open to opportunities.
Right. And that's why we really do want to support our clients in making sure that they have opportunities to move at all levels. We understand movies are expensive. So how do we right size it to the position, help them work with their budgets, help give choice to their employees, and really work with that. So
Yeah.
Allison, thanks for the shout out from Texas.
Texas in the house there.
That's
Yeehaw.
right.
I was encouraged today. We kind of talked about the pent up demand that might be building, right? And folks that are on the sidelines hoping for that new house and waiting till they can afford it, and that new assignment that they want to take, and things that are just on pause. And I was encouraged today. I woke up to a headline that says the Fed is surprising people by signaling maybe an interest rate cut next month. And I was very excited to hear that. Because to me, that feels like the switch that needs to be flipped to really reverse this trend.
Absolutely. And I've seen some of those headlines, but then reading some of those articles and in reading the full
Wait, you read the
article.
articles? Well, you're not supposed to wait.
Well, I've noticed a lot of times the headlines don't always cover the articles. So
That's
I'm
fair.
not an
That's fair.
economist, so we'll see what that does because they're saying the economy is responding, and so with where it's at, interest rates, everyone agrees interest rates right now are too high for the majority to want to buy a house. I think we've gotten over in 2024, everyone thought if interest rates got back to 5%, the floodgates were open and everyone would go out and buy a house. Well, interest rates haven't gotten back there now. Now they're saying by the end maybe of 2025, if they're back in the lower sixes, maybe that won't be so bad. So we're kind of in that range of, are we getting close to where people might feel that it might be time to buy again because where interest rates going to go? Because even if the Fed, as we saw with the last Fed adjustment down, that doesn't necessarily tie directly to mortgage interest
Great.
rates. And so they're different facets doing different things for the economy. So we'll have to watch and see where those mortgage interest rates go. And also if the Fed does decide to make that adjustment next month or not.
Yeah.
I think there's some mixed reviews out there whether they will or not. I think the sentiment is everyone would like to see it because what could that do? But we'll see if they actually move forward.
Michelle Moore, reading the articles, the actual whole articles. That's a good policy. I like that policy. I'm gonna have to try that. Lynn says relocation from PHL Philly, I guess, changed my life forever. I should hope so. Good riddance. I am still in San Francisco for ARPAN International. What's up, Lynn? It's good to see you. I always got to give Philly folks a hard time as a Dallas fan. Many moves, making the leap to a new city or country is still a big life moment.
Absolutely.
It's not just about where to move, but when to leap. And having a trusted RMC and mover by your side makes the decision far less intimidating and far more empowering. Yes, for sure. Brandon Day checking in. Ben, welcome to Nebraska. And you picked a great company to visit. NEI is as admired across our state as they are in the industry.
Thanks, Brandon.
Well, that's nice, Brandon. Brandon's a great guy. Him and his wife Tammy do some really cool things with philanthropy and community engagement that we can all learn from. Super cool. This is interesting. I want to ask you, people always talk about technology, and it's always so important to stay up with the current trends. And you were so hospitable to invite me here today on what is probably the most busy day of the entire year for you. And not only do we have an ice cream truck here, not only is it raining cats and dogs outside, not only did the GPA website launch today and sponsorships are going fast, but you're also upgrading your technology in a major way today. God bless.
Yeah, I think this is relocation. There's always something going on, and our employees are great. They're so adaptable. We have experts in each of the areas handling each of their parts and pieces so seamlessly that they just make it work and all come together. We're always upgrading some piece of our technology. We're trying to really work to stay ahead, to really deliver on our clients' needs, the transferees' needs, and also our employees. And the deployment that we have going on this weekend that we're getting ready for Cutover and Pieces is really going to help the employee experience. There'll be some hiccups and bumps every time you kind of change different pieces, but we've had a great team. We've done a lot of training. We have an awesome talent development team under Leanne Simpson, who makes sure that all of our employees are getting all the information. And our CIO, Dar Andrew's really making sure that everything is coming together. So that's all set to go without much of my involvement. So
yeah,
that's why I'm here with you.
They say that's the mark of leadership, when the thing runs smoothly without you, right? Like,
Absolutely.
Hey, that's when you've got everybody in place that's supposed to be there. Why is it so important for you to make this big investment that you're making now in technology?
This is really giving us the power with things coming on with AIs, the machine learnings. We felt the technology that we were using behind the scenes wasn't as robust as what we would like it to be able to for different out of the box API connectors. we were able to do a lot of those things with our current system, but it just felt clunky to us, and it didn't have kind of the fresh technology that what some of the packages do today. So with moving to SAP, that's giving us to have kind of a bigger, robust engine with a lot of those connectors all built in to be able to do things that will enable our IT team to be able to work a lot more efficiently with the technology as different things need to be employed, different add-ons, connectors. It gives a smoother interface to our employees. Things are in that fun tile mode.
Yep.
Our website was like that already for our clients. So this is bringing that kind of behind for our employees to have, the bright colors
Right.
in the software and to have a much different look and feel for what they're looking at. So it is a significant investment, but we do think that it will then start to pay off in the opportunities that we are to allow enhancements to what our employees do, and then also then to our clients and our transferees.
Well, I'll tell you what, as a former employee of a relocation service provider, I appreciate the fact that you are focusing not only just on the front end, but on the back end, on the systems that are your internal, your internal customers are using, right? Because I tell you what, as a person who worked at a couple different companies in the space, there's nothing worse as a new employee of coming into a company and using a system that's outdated. I'll tell you what, we had a couple on the move inside that, green screen, right? You got the dreaded green screen, right? And you got the fax machine in the corner that doesn't have quite enough dust on it, that's just been used a little too recently, or the word processor, and I would always have the feeling of just being irritated at the fact that I have to use this system, and so I think employees just really appreciate being given good tools.
So, yeah, the system that they had before was awesome. It was very tailored to relocation, and that's what the opportunity is to bring forward
Yeah.
with the new technology and fit that together. So it'll be exciting to see what we can do in the future.
That's awesome.
Again, with the AI and machine learning and having a lot of the great features that will be built into that already.
Yeah, very cool. We got people checking in here. Get in the comments here. Let us know who you are, where you are. Say what's up. Rob Zeitz checking in from Massachusetts, where the first step to buying a house requires winning a Powerball. That's a good strategy, Rob. Anandita from USI Law. What's up, Anandita? Hello, Ben and Michelle. Looking forward to this conversation. Hey, Anandita. Kelly, great to meet you and the team, Michelle. Zach
Hi,
checking
Kelly.
in. Rob says, I bet you could have played Oregon Trail, Ben, on those computers used in the moving business. I wish I had Oregon Trail, Anyway, I'm not gonna make a broken wagon wheel or dysentery joke. I'm just gonna keep moving here. Zach says, just curious, since there aren't many books on relocation specifically, can you ask Michelle? Yes, I will. If she considers anything to be required reading for those who are looking to excel in the industry.
Gosh, that's an interesting
Yeah,
question.
that's interesting.
I would actually say the best is become an employee of NEI. And we have a great training site with some great required reading components.
Your own adventure, Zach.
Absolutely. No, part of it is just understanding all the different articles. As Ben mentioned, there's a lot of information out there related to relocation and things that may or may not apply within the headlines. Making sure really just to make sure that you're reading to the facts and knowing where your source of information is coming from is really important.
More important than ever. Lynn Gardner says, curious if this peak season seems different from that of past summers since the pandemic, outside of the economy regarding real estate, such as in regards to international shipping delays for household goods, with the current tariff, for political changes, policy trends changes as it relates to core and lump sum programs. Does it feel different this peak season?
I think in relocation, we're always adapting, and there's always something going on, whether it's a lot of volume, whether it's the high cost. with the international shipping over the past several years, it feels like we've just moved on from one thing to the other. So it really is, with those changes, we are really setting expectations of how long things will take and what traffic lanes are having those issues. So our employees kind of move from, if is it the Asia Pacific traffic lanes that were behind due to the container issues? Is it now going around the Middle East and the concerns of what's going on there? So we're just trying to stay ahead of all of that and make sure everyone has the right expectations. So from that standpoint, it's more about keeping our people educated to know what to educate the transferees with. But you're right, there are just a lot of differences, but we've also faced those in the past, so we know how to continue to help our employees be agile and kind of pivot for the next thing that they have to help people understand and know what to expect in their move.
Kind of that change is constant kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So while the changes might be different, the fact that there are changes is pretty routine.
Right, exactly. And just when you talk about how much we have going on,
Yeah.
our employees are used to, there's always something going on, and how do we work through it and make sure that we are taking care of all the pieces and parts that really all need to fit together.
Yeah, and I this is one of the things I always love talking to Randy about too, right? Is I love talking to people that have been doing this long enough where they're not necessarily phased by anything because they know that it's a it's a long game, and these bumps that seem really big up close, are just they're just blips in the long term.
Absolutely. But you always have new people coming in, and you do want to, our experienced tenured employees do a great job of this, helping make sure they're thinking of all those little pieces and parts that while you either went through it or went through something similar, to know what's coming and make sure that we put all of those pieces together and just A to Z, we have everything checked so that it will go smoothly for them.
Well, there you have it, y'all. We've got just a few more minutes left. You want to play a game with me, Michelle?
I don't know, Ben, you make me nervous on
I know I always
these
look so
things.
mischievous when I say it, right? Don't worry, there won't be like any knives, or it won't be Russian roulette or anything like that. It'll be very, very, very straightforward. It's just a simple game, Michelle. Overrated or underrated, okay? I'm gonna give you a topic, and you're gonna tell me if it's overrated or underrated. That's
Got it.
all.
Okay.
It's very easy. Maybe.
You're making me nervous still.
Maybe. And then I'll, tell you if you're right. Okay, let's go. Overrated, underrated. First one up. Nebraska volleyball. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated. They're awesome. You can't rate them high enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not an expert, but I've heard that.
We're volleyball fans in our house.
Yeah. Didn't y'all sell out like a major outdoor stadium?
The Nebraska Cornhuskers Outdoor Football Stadium. They set a world record for attendance for a women's volleyball game. And I don't have the statistics, but it was well over 80 some thousand. There's probably people that could put it right in the chat.
In the chat here,
80,
I want to
90,000.
know the
Help me
record
out.
for outside. Put it in the chat there. I want to know the record for outside attendance for a volleyball game.
And Ben, I don't know if you know, we also have professional women's volleyball in Omaha, Nebraska, with two different teams, the Omaha Supernovas and the Omaha LOVE+RELO. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank on what their league is called.
I didn't know there were any professional volleyball teams, and y'all have two teams.
We have two teams.
I'm kind of fascinated by this. Maybe
They're
that's
great games.
When do they normally play? Is it Saturdays? Or
Their January season is about January through May-ish.
Okay, so we're in off season right now. We'll have to remember that next time we come. We'll catch a game. This is great. Allison Gurley, we love Nebraska volleyball, and I'm a Texas girl.
That's awesome, Allison.
Leanne Simpson says 92,000 is the record. Dang.
Leanne, our training person, making sure we have all of the pieces and parts and the technical details correct. Thanks, Leanne.
Ollie shouting out Nebraska volleyball. Well, Leanne's not even satisfied with. That's one thing I will say about Nebraska people are so like ethical and like specific and like, no, I'm going to tell you the exact. She says, actually, I think it's 92,006 if I remember correctly. Yeah, and Brandon Day says it was the largest American crowd ever to see a women's sporting event. Wow.
It was incredible. Tickets sold out like within an hour. It was crazy. Then they released more tickets and those were just instantly gone as well.
Unreal. Well, that's fantastic. I love that. Okay. All right. Well, you definitely get a
So
point
we'll have
for
to
that
have you
one.
back for a volleyball game, but
I'm getting all
I
these
don't know
things
if
I
we
have to
can
come
get
do.
tickets to a Nebraska volleyball game around here.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Is it easier to get tickets to the Cornhuskers football game?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could get you into the football
It's a
game, no
football game.
problem.
You'll be on the field in the football game.
Yeah.
My gosh, that's wild. That's so awesome.
Tickets would
Okay.
probably be for a single game. We could probably get just cheaper tickets as well down low.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Next one up, overrated, underrated ice cream trucks.
Oh, underrated. They're awesome as well. Rain or snow or shine, in Nebraska, we will eat ice cream.
Yeah, and y'all were it was wild to me. Y'all were unfazed by the vertical rain that was going, horizontal
Did you see
rain
the
that was
people
going
with
on.
individual brought the towel? Then we had
Yeah,
someone with
he
two
came out with a
umbrellas.
towel. It's like a beach towel, and it's for this very purpose in his desk. Who has a towel? He had a whole towel over his head. I think he had 2 ice cream
That's
sandwiches.
Tony. Tony was well prepared.
Love you, Tony. Bless. There you go. Yeah, no, that was fun. It was good times
Yes.
there. All right. All right. Yeah, I'm with you there. Let's see here. All right. Next one up, overrated, underrated, the College World Series.
I'm going to say that's another underrated event. If you haven't been, it's an experience and it's always a lot of fun. Unless, unfortunately, maybe it's not your team winning.
But your team, I mean, who, no, everyone can't win.
That's correct. And it's just it's a great fun venue. There's always lots of new things. They always try new foods that is on our news, whatever they kind of create. There's always like new nacho creations, new sandwich creations, and then people are voting and
I like
making the news. So when you go to the grocery store, you can see if you were making the new College World Series sandwich, what ingredients you need to buy by each little sign. Probably a little bit of marketing pressure.
Yeah,
with that
I'll
too.
tell you what, I really want to see Coastal Carolina win. I think they got totally robbed. You know, their coach got kicked out in like first inning or something like that. Holly says if we have a saying in Nebraska, if you don't like the weather, give it 5 minutes.
Holly, you're so correct.
Yeah, it's about right, Holly. All right. I've never been to the College World Series, but I want to go. I keep saying that. Every year I come here, I keep saying that.
Let us know in advance next year.
I got to do it. Maybe Brandon Day will let me stay at his place. He's got an apartment in downtown Omaha. That's the other thing. You can't get a place to stay. Plane tickets are expensive. Hotels are almost impossible to get.
It's a challenge, yes.
Man, all right, we'll figure it out.
But we can help figure it out.
All right, you guys know how to get accommodations worked out.
Yeah.
I mean,
we can help you. You might not like the price. You might not like the rent, but we can probably figure something out.
Love it. All right, next one up, overrated, underrated, Austin, Texas.
Goodness. My brother lives there, so I'll probably have to say underrated because they would say best city.
Best city. What do you think?
I like Austin.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Great food, great music, great venues. We have some great clients in Austin. So great service partners in Austin. So probably underrated.
Yeah. I was just down there a couple weeks ago and the food scene is great. Love the live music. Live music. There's only a few great cities left in the U.S. where you can really see good live music and in a multitude of areas. And Austin is definitely one of them. The roads are a little narrow. It's a little hard to get around, I'll be honest with you. And they could, upgrade that airport a little bit, but it's they want to keep it weird, I guess, and that's part of the allure.
Absolutely.
So, all right, I'll give you another one. It's Texas. There you go. Underrated, Austin, Texas. Last one up, overrated, underrated, being the boss.
Probably overrated. No, I have an absolutely wonderful team, but I think there's still just the mystique of maybe there's a lot more that perks to the position than maybe really there are not.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. They're like, I just want to be the CEO so I can do whatever I want. I'm like, yeah, right. I'm like, you're more accountable to. You have so many people you're accountable to.
That's exactly right. I have an absolutely fabulous strategic leadership team. We have fabulous employees, but yeah, that
Yeah.
one.
It's you serve everyone at that.
Absolutely, you do.
People
And
think they serve you.
conflicting opinions, conflicting desires, and there's never the opportunity to make everyone happy at the things that are trying to be implemented. So really it's a balance. And
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work, and we work hard to do it because we do want to make sure we're making the right decisions for the right reasons. And really that is a much bigger group than just one person versus having it just be me.
Yeah. Totally. Allison says Michelle is a pretty amazing boss.
Thanks, Allison.
Very cool. This is great. What a wonderful show. A lot of people tuning in here and checking in. Anandita says, I appreciate your transparency, Michelle. This is so important in our industry of global mobility.
Thanks, Anadita.
This is great. Thanks everybody for watching today. Get in the comments, leave some love for Michelle, and definitely sign up for the GPA summit.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a great one. It's gonna be really good, y'all. I've seen this hotel. Telling you, it's gonna be good. Might be some karaoke. It's gonna be really good.
And great programming.
And
great
lots of
speakers.
education, inspiration, motivation.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, Ben.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank
Take
you
care,
for everyone
everybody.
who
See you
tuned
next
in.
week.